We just lost to the Mystics. We just lost to a team who, I kid you not, are not trying to win.
Do not give the ball to Kelsey Mitchell when the game is on the line. And I'll be damned if Stephanie White draws up a play, give it to Kelsey, and she doings the layup.
How many times can one player cost a team a game before the whole locker room explodes? Because what just happened in Indiana might be the breaking point. The Fever had the game in their hands, everything lined up, and somehow it slipped away in the worst way possible. Kelsey Mitchell got the ball when it mattered most, and the result was the exact nightmare fans have been dreading.
Layup. Now, what's more crazy about all of this? Sophie Cunningham was literally standing there at the three-point line like this, wide open.
Meanwhile, Sophie Cunningham was standing wide open, begging for the shot, and Caitlin Clark's face on the sidelines told the whole story. She looked furious, and honestly, she had every reason to be. For weeks now, Fever fans have been sounding the alarm about Kelsey Mitchell. It's not just this game. It's not just one mistake. It's a pattern. When the lights are the brightest and the game is on the line, Mitchell keeps getting the ball, and more often than not, the result is the same. A missed shot, a blown layup, or a possession that kills the team's momentum. This isn't about one bad night. This is about a growing reputation that Mitchell simply doesn't deliver in the clutch. Think about the last few losses. Fans were already calling her out after the previous game, when she got the final shot and bricked it. Social media lit up with comments like, "Please stop giving her the ball late. She's not built for that moment." And yet, despite the warnings, despite the obvious frustration from the fan base, the Fever doubled down. When crunch time rolled around again, the ball was placed in Mitchell's hands as if the script hadn't already been written. It's almost like the coaching staff and Mitchell herself are living in an alternate reality, one where she's the go-to closer and nobody notices the results. But fans notice. Fans always notice. Every miss gets clipped, shared, and replayed on X, Instagram, and TikTok. You can't hide in today's game, and Mitchell's reputation has been carved out in real time. Talented scorer for 3 quarters, unreliable in the final minutes. That's a brutal label to carry, but when the evidence keeps piling up, what else are people supposed to say? What makes it worse is that this isn't some harmless slump. The Fever are fighting for playoff position, and every game matters. These aren't garbage time losses in January. These are critical matchups where one possession can swing the season. And when your supposed veteran leader is the one consistently fumbling those possessions, the damage goes way beyond the box score. It seeps into the locker room. It creates doubt. It kills trust. The most damning part? Fans have been practically begging for change. They've said it after losses, after close calls, even after games the Fever managed to pull out in spite of Mitchell. Give it to Sophie. Give it to Boston. Give it to Caitlin when she's healthy. Anybody but Mitchell in the final minute. These aren't trolls. These are diehards who watch every possession, who live and die with this team. When the people who want to support you are openly campaigning for you not to touch the ball in the clutch, that tells you everything you need to know. And still, here we are. The same mistake, the same result, the same collective groan from fans who saw it coming before the ball even left her hands. It's a loop the Fever can't seem to break out of, and every time it happens, the frustration grows louder. This latest meltdown wasn't a shock to the fan base. It was déjà vu. They've been warning about it for weeks, and now they feel like they're being proven right again and again. That's the pattern nobody in the Fever locker room wants to admit, but the fans have already called it out. Kelsey Mitchell is not clutch, and the longer the team pretends otherwise, the more games, and possibly their season, they're going to lose. The final 10 seconds told you everything you needed to know about this team's broken late-game identity. The Fever were down, but not out. They had one possession to tie it, one chance to silence the critics and snatch back momentum. Instead, they gave the ball to the one player fans trusted the least. Kelsey Mitchell brought it up, everyone in the arena holding their breath, and what unfolded was nothing short of a basketball tragedy. Sophie Cunningham was standing there, literally begging for the moment. Wide open at the three-point line, hands ready, eyes locked in. She's the kind of shooter you want in that spot. Calm, confident, clutch. The defense had collapsed into the paint, practically daring the Fever to make the obvious pass. All it would have taken was a simple swing, and Sophie had the cleanest look you could ask for in crunch time. Instead, the ball never came her way. She just stood there frozen, watching history repeat itself. And then there was Lexi Hull, who had already proven she was locked in earlier. She knocked down threes, gave the Fever life, and carried stretches of offense when they desperately needed it. Fans knew it, the announcers knew it. Even the opposing defense seemed more worried about Hull than Mitchell. Yet somehow, in the moment that mattered, she was ignored too. How do you have a hot hand, a proven shooter on fire, and not even look her direction in crunch time? That's coaching malpractice. Which brings us to Stephanie White. This is where the frustration boils over, because it wasn't just Mitchell freelancing. This was a drawn-up play. This was the coach putting the ball exactly where the fans begged her not to put it. Back-to-back games, the same mistake, the same ugly ending. White had options: Sophie wide open, Lexi heating up, Boston demanding attention inside. But no, the design was to ride or die with Kelsey Mitchell, and once again, it was death. Fans weren't just mad at Mitchell after the buzzer. They were furious with White. "What are we doing?" became the collective cry across Fever Nation. And when Mitchell's shot clanked, the reaction was instant. The crowd groaned, the opposing bench erupted, and Sophie Cunningham's expression said it all. She looked stunned, almost insulted that the ball never came her way. You could see Caitlin Clark on the sideline too, hands on her knees, face full of frustration. She didn't need to say a word. That glare was enough to tell you exactly how she felt about the decision-making. This wasn't just another miss. This was a breakdown of trust, a total betrayal of what the right basketball play should have been. The result? Fans left the arena shaking their heads, social media exploded in disbelief, and the Fever dropped yet another winnable game. Not because they didn't have options. Not because the defense forced them into a tough shot, but because the ball went to the wrong player at the wrong time. Again. That single possession might go down as the turning point that finally broke the patience of this fan base. If you want to know how bad things have gotten in Indiana, you didn't need to hear a press conference. You just had to look at Caitlin Clark's face in those final seconds. No yelling, no dramatic gestures, just that cold, piercing stare of frustration that every fan immediately recognized. She was leaning forward on her knees, eyes wide, jaw tight. That wasn't the face of a rookie learning the ropes. That was the face of a star who's already fed up with her team's decision-making. Body language doesn't lie, and Caitlin said it all. She didn't clap for the play. She didn't try to encourage her teammate. She just stood there, visibly pissed, like she couldn't believe the Fever had once again put the ball in the hands of the one player least likely to deliver. If you slowed down the footage, it almost looked like disbelief gave way to anger. The kind of quiet, seething anger that lingers long after the buzzer. It didn't take long for fans online to start connecting the dots. Within minutes of the final horn, X was flooded with speculation. Is Caitlin already done with this team? She looks like she doesn't even want to be here anymore. You can tell she's lost faith in the coaching staff. These weren't just hot takes from random trolls. They were coming from die-hard Fever fans who've watched every possession of her rookie season. To them, Caitlin's expression was proof of what they've been fearing. She's losing trust. The idea of Caitlin Clark, the face of the WNBA, the league's biggest star, the ticket seller, the ratings magnet, feeling alienated on her own team is terrifying for the Fever. And yet, that's exactly what fans are speculating. They're pointing to her reaction in games like this, her body language after poor possessions, and even her occasional testy responses in pressers as signs that her patience is running thin. One viral post said it bluntly. Caitlin didn't leave Iowa just to watch her teammates brick layups in crunch time. Thousands liked it, because deep down, they agreed. Then came the rumors about her trust in the play calling. Multiple fans and analysts have started asking whether Caitlin even believes in Stephanie White's late-game decisions anymore. After all, how can you? If you're sitting on the bench, watching Sophie Cunningham wide open and Lexi Hull red hot, and the coach still draws up a play for Mitchell, wouldn't you start questioning the whole system? Some even speculated that Caitlin's icy expression wasn't aimed solely at Mitchell, but at White for setting the team up to fail. Whether that's true or not, the perception is already out there. Caitlin Clark is frustrated, and she doesn't believe this team knows how to win when it matters most. And in the world of professional sports, perception often becomes reality. The longer the Fever keep repeating these mistakes, the more fans will believe that Caitlin's future in Indiana could be in jeopardy. And the scarier thought is that maybe Caitlin herself has started to wonder the same thing. The second the buzzer sounded, social media turned into a funeral for Kelsey Mitchell's clutch reputation. X was flooded with clips of the final play, each one captioned more brutal than the last. One fan posted the video with the words, "This is why the Fever will never win anything. Stop giving the ball to Kelsey in crunch time." Another didn't hold back, writing, "I'd rather see the mascot shoot the last shot than Mitchell." It wasn't just frustration. It was open roasting, the kind of public dragging that players don't easily recover from. The most common theme? Fans begging the team to never let her touch the ball late again. "Don't ever give her the ball again. I'm serious," one viral post read, racking up thousands of likes within minutes. Others echoed the same sentiment. Boston, Sophie, Lexi, literally anybody but Kelsey in the final seconds. It became almost a rallying cry online, with fans uniting around one painful truth. Mitchell might score in the first 3 quarters, but when it matters, she's a liability. And then the conversation took a darker turn. Some fans began questioning whether Caitlin Clark should even stick around if this is the way things are going to be. One furious user said, "Caitlin didn't leave Iowa to watch this circus. If the Fever can't figure it out, get her out of there." Another comment cut even deeper. "They're wasting Caitlin's prime already. Trade her before she gets stuck in this mess." For a rookie who just entered the league, that's a shocking sentiment, but it shows how quickly fan patience is evaporating. What started as anger at one player turned into full-on panic about the direction of the team. The loss wasn't just a bad night, it was a boiling point. Fans aren't just mad at Kelsey Mitchell anymore. They're questioning the entire culture of the Fever and whether this team is capable of building around Caitlin Clark at all. When your own supporters start fantasizing about your star leaving, you know the situation has officially crossed from disappointment into crisis. Here's the problem with the Fever's decision in crunch time. The box score doesn't lie, and it sure as hell didn't back Kelsey Mitchell. You look at what was happening all game, and it paints a picture so clear it's almost painful. Sonia Citron was torching Indiana from start to finish, walking away with a line that screamed efficiency and poise. Every time the Fever tried to mount momentum, Sonia stepped right in and smacked them back down. She cooked the defense like it was her personal kitchen, and Indiana just had no answer. Meanwhile, Lexi Hull was on fire, the kind of fire you have to ride when the game's on the line. She was drilling threes, playing with confidence, and feeding off the energy of the crowd. Fans were begging for her to touch the ball in that final possession. You've got a hot hand, you've got momentum, you've got confidence. And yet, you ice her out in favor of a player who hasn't proven clutch in these situations. That's not just questionable, it's straight up malpractice. And let's not forget Aaliyah Boston. She wasn't just playing well, she was dominating, owning the glass, forcing defenders into tough spots, creating second chance opportunities. This was a game where you could easily have run something through her in the paint, drawn a foul, or at least forced the defense to collapse. That opens up Sophie Cunningham wide open in the corner. Instead, the Fever ignored their all-star anchor and the hottest shooter on the floor and put the game in the hands of the one player who had already shown she wasn't delivering. Now compare that to Sophie Cunningham. She might not have had the flashiest box score of the night, but her shooting percentages in clutch situations this season tell the real story. Sophie has been money when left open, especially from the corners. And in those last 10 seconds, she was literally waving her arms, waiting for the pass that never came. The analytics, the eye test, the flow of the game, everything screamed, get Sophie the ball. But Indiana decided otherwise, and the box score looks uglier for it. When you actually line up the numbers, it's a no-brainer. Lexi Hull had the rhythm, Aaliyah Boston had the dominance. Sophie Cunningham had the positioning. Kelsey Mitchell? She had the history of choking. And yet somehow, she was the one handed the keys when everything mattered most. That's not bad luck. That's bad decision-making. And fans are right to be furious, because the stats prove exactly what they've been screaming online. The Fever trusted the wrong player, and it cost them a game they absolutely could have won. Here's the part nobody inside the Indiana Fever organization wants to admit out loud. There's smoke in that locker room, and where there's smoke, there's usually fire. You cannot keep handing the ball to the same player who repeatedly comes up empty in crunch time without other players starting to roll their eyes, even if they won't say it in front of cameras. Fans have been speculating all over Twitter, Reddit, and TikTok. Is this team losing trust in Kelsey Mitchell when the game's on the line? Because if you watched that possession and then saw Caitlin's reaction, it sure didn't look like everyone was on the same page. The whispers don't stop with Mitchell either. A lot of fingers are being pointed at head coach Stephanie White. Fans are flat out questioning whether she knows how to manage end-of-game situations. Why was Sophie Cunningham ignored when she had been knocking down open looks all night? Why wasn't Lexi Hull, who'd been red hot, even an option? Instead, the Fever went to a player who's been anything but clutch in recent weeks. The result? A predictable disaster that has the fan base fuming and wondering if White has the guts to change her play-calling hierarchy. And then, there's the trio that fans do want to see with the ball when everything is on the line. Caitlin Clark, Aaliyah Boston, and Sophie Cunningham. That's the clutch trio. Boston has been an absolute monster in the paint, demanding double teams. Caitlin has proven she thrives under pressure, draining logo threes and making fearless passes when games hang in the balance. Sophie? She's the kind of player who lives for the chaos, never afraid to take the shot when the lights are brightest. Instead, all three were standing there watching as Mitchell bricked another chance to seal a statement win. Now, you can bet the players will smile for cameras and give the "we trust each other, we'll figure it out" sound bites. But actions tell the real story. Caitlin's frustrated glare, Boston's head drop, Sophie's hands-on hips disbelief. Those are the cracks showing through the polished PR answers. No team chemistry survives if the same player keeps blowing late-game moments, and the rest of the squad feels like their efforts are being wasted. The Fever may not say it yet, but that trust is eroding. If this continues, the tension is only going to build. The Fever are at a crossroads. Either White changes the way they finish games and leans on the players fans know are clutch, or they risk creating a permanent divide in that locker room. And once a superstar like Caitlin Clark feels the system is broken, that's the beginning of a franchise nightmare. At the end of the day, this wasn't a loss the Fever had to take. They had the game right there, momentum in their favor, the crowd believing, Caitlin drawing defenders, and multiple weapons ready to fire. But instead of sealing the win, the decision-making collapsed, and the ball ended up in the one player fans least wanted it in. It wasn't bad luck. It wasn't the refs. It was a self-inflicted wound, and everybody watching knew it. The Fever didn't just lose on the scoreboard. They lost credibility in the clutch. When Sophie Cunningham is waving her arms wide open like she's invisible, when Lexi Hull has been scorching from deep and gets ignored, and when Caitlin Clark is standing there visibly disgusted, it tells you everything you need to know. This wasn't just one mistake. It was a breakdown of trust, and trust is the one thing championship teams must have in big moments. And that's where the locker room questions start to get louder. How long can this team keep pretending Kelsey Mitchell is their closer when her history keeps proving the opposite? How many times do teammates have to watch wide-open shooters get frozen out while the ball gets forced into a predictable, inefficient shot? It's not just fans who notice. Players do too. And when that tension builds, it doesn't go away quietly. The Fever can't afford to keep wasting these chances. Caitlin Clark isn't going to sit around forever watching her prime highlights get turned into blooper reels because of late-game meltdowns. Aaliyah Boston is dominating inside. Sophie is spacing the floor. Lexi is red hot, but somehow the trust still gets funneled to the wrong option. At what point does this team finally pivot to its real clutch trio instead of clinging to a broken formula? So here's the real question. How many more games have to be thrown away before the Fever finally admit Kelsey Mitchell isn't the answer in the clutch? Because right now, this isn't just a losing streak. It's a pattern that could shatter team chemistry if it doesn't get fixed. But what do you think? Should the Fever keep trusting Kelsey Mitchell in big moments, or is it time to hand the keys to Clark, Boston, and Sophie? Drop your takes in the comments. This debate is only getting started.